Hey guys, tonight we slip into a world of frost and whispering wind. A landscape so silent it feels like sound itself has frozen. You stand beneath a sky painted with auroras, your boots sinking into snow that crunches like powdered sugar. All around you stretches an icy plain, white and endless, under the blinkless gaze of stars older than memory. There's no bird song, no traffic, no hum of distant highways, just the hollow breath of the Arctic. And here you are, in the middle of nowhere, trying not to freeze your eyelashes shut. You probably won't survive this, unless you know what the Inuit have known for generations, how to outwit the cold using only what the land grudgingly offers. Not trees, not rocks, just snow. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where you're listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The air bites your cheeks as you squint into the horizon. The sun, low and tired, barely drags itself above the rim of the earth. Its pale orange glow smears across the snow like a weak attempt at warmth. Around you, the Arctic stretches blank and pure, an ancient expanse sculpted by winds that never stop. Somewhere under your feet, sea ice groans softly, like it's dreaming. You take a slow step, your boot vanishing into a soft drift. That first sensation of walking on nothing but snow, with the sky pressing down and the world hushed, it's oddly comforting. But there's no time to get poetic about it. Out here, the weather doesn't care if you're inspired. It just wants you gone. That's where the Inuit genius kicks in. You imagine being born into this. Your first breath filled with the scent of whale oil. Your lullabies sung in a language as fluid as snowflakes. The Inuit people didn't stumble onto this land. They've mastered it. For centuries, they've lived, hunted, laughed. And yes, even hosted snowball fights right here, in what might as well be the coldest open concept living room on Earth. Mainstream historians often mention the Inuit as Arctic survivors, but that's selling it short. They didn't just survive, they engineered comfort where none should exist. And it starts with snow. Not just any snow, mind you. The right kind. The kind that falls with the right consistency, settles with the right density, and waits patiently to become shelter. You'd never guess it by looking at it, but snow can be sliced, stacked, and sealed into a home that's warmer inside than a chilly spring evening in your apartment. That's not exaggeration. In temperatures that hover around -40, an igloo interior can reach up to 60 degrees F with just body heat and a single oil lamp. Take that, modern insulation. As you trudge forward, the cold stings your nostrils, but your curiosity burns a little hotter. You pass what looks like a drift, but it's been subtly altered. Smooth walls, a slight mound, maybe an entrance hole half hidden by snow. Someone lives here, right under your nose. Quirky fact incoming. Did you know Inuit parents used to rub their babies' cheeks with snow to toughen them up? Not in a mean way. It was believed to prevent frostbite, like a frosty little spay treatment. Anyway, this white desert might seem dead, but it's full of signs. Tiny details that tell stories. A sliver of bone poking out near a buried cache. A glint of ice, polished driftwood hauled from distant shores. Life here is hidden in plain sight, and the Inuit have always known how to read it. Historians still argue whether the igloo was ever meant as permanent housing or just a winter convenience. Some say they were seasonal shelters for hunters, while others suggest they were more than that. Symbolic spaces, even spiritual in nature. Either way, when you crouch at the threshold of one now, the wind tugging at your hood and your breath misting in front of you, you don't really care about scholarly debates. You just want in. Your gloves brush snow off a dome's side, smooth, curved, and seamless. It feels almost soft, but underneath, it's firm. Solid. You knock lightly. Yep. This isn't the crumbly stuff you shovel off your driveway. This snow was chosen. Compressed by wind, shaped by hands that know how to read its structure, like a builder reads blueprints. As you look up at the darkening sky, a few stars blink through the twilight haze. They've watched countless igloos rise and fall, seen countless travelers huddle for warmth, whispering stories into the soft acoustics of snow walls. You're about to join that lineage. You take one last look around the white silence, take a deep breath, and prepare to learn the ancient dance of snow and shelter. You step forward, your boots making that soft, squeaky sound against compacted snow, following a barely their trail. Ahead, shallow depressions dot the landscape. Someone's footprints, mostly filled in by blowing powder. The tracks look recent, like they were made hours ago. You follow them, letting your mind drift with every crunch underfoot. There's a quiet rhythm to this. Your exhale fogs the air, your limbs hum with low, level cold, and the sky above has shifted to a soft steel gray, like a lid gently settling over the world. The wind picks up, and your hood flutters, and that's when you really start appreciating how little visual noise there is out here. No buildings, no blinking lights, just white, more white, and shadows pretending to be hills. These tracks lead toward a small rise. It looks like nothing at first, a lump of snow and ice, maybe a buried rock. But as you approach, details sharpen. A tiny tunnel, mouth cuts into the drift, maybe 3 feet high, framed by a gentle slope of packed snow. This is the entryway to an igloo. And no, it's not a front door with a welcome mat and a cheery wreath. It's more of a crawl space. A cold kiss before the warmth. Sliding inside is clumsy. You shuffle forward on elbows and knees, your breath echoing softly as the tunnel curves up slightly. This downward, then upward design is no accident. It traps warmer air inside the main dome and keeps colder air from spilling in. It's like nature's airlock. You wriggle up the tunnel, brushing past the inner lip of the dome, and suddenly, you're in. It's surprisingly spacious. You sit up slowly, eyes adjusting to the dusky interior. The light comes from a tiny flame, maybe a carved stone lamp fueled by blubber. Shadows ripple on snow, block walls that curve above you in a perfect hemisphere. The dome doesn't just cover you, it cradles the space. The air is still cold, yes, but it's gentler. You can breathe without wincing. Your eyelashes stop frosting up. This is the first bit of comfort you've felt in hours. The person who made this, they've done this before. You run your fingers along one of the inner blocks, smooth, with faint tool marks. Each block had to be cut at an angle and fitted just so, forming a spiral upward. The Inuit didn't just stack snow like lazy bricks. They crafted a self-supporting dome using geometry that would make a stonemason blush. The technique, passed down by demonstration, ensured that each block pressed inward and downward, locking the structure together. The snow used here isn't fluffy powder that wouldn't hold a shape, let alone a roof. What you're touching is wind, packed snow, aged by exposure, and just the right density to slice with a snow knife, a tool traditionally carved from bone or horn. A good snow block holds its edge like cheese, pliable but firm. Too soft, and it crumbles. Too hard, and it splinters. Here's your fringe fact. Some Inuit would test snow by listening to the sound it made when stepped on. Not joking. Crunch too crisp, might be too dry, muffled thump. Perfect for cutting. Following the builder's logic, you can now trace the spiral of blocks upward. It all starts with a base circle. The first layer is laid with care, slightly angled inward. Each subsequent row leans more, shaping the curve until the last block, a keystone, is wedged in at the very top, locking the structure in place. Historians still argue whether early Inuit learned dome architecture through observation, like from natural snowdrifts and caves, or developed it entirely through trial, error, and genius improvisation. What's clear is that the design predates European contact, which makes it even more impressive. No blueprints, no metal tools, just deep memory and snowy intuition. You sit cross-legged on a platform raised slightly off the floor. This sleeping area isn't just comfort. It's science. Cold air sinks, so the floor is a shallow trench. You sleep above it, where the warmest air lingers. If you're lucky, the builder even carved a vent at the top to let smoke out without losing heat. Yep, they basically invented HVAC before your landlord figured out how to fix your radiator. The inside of this igloo doesn't just serve a purpose. It feels oddly sacred. The snow muffles sound in a way that makes your own heartbeat seem rude. There's a calming acoustics to the dome, the way it swallows echoes and keeps voices low and warm. It's like a snow-made meditation chamber. You wonder how many secrets were shared in places like this. How many whispered jokes, quiet plans, even moments of grief, all held within a dome that would melt come spring. You glance at the tiny lamp again. That yellow flicker is probably a kudlik, a traditional stone lamp fueled by rendered seal or whale oil. It throws off just enough heat to make a difference, and it smells faintly like ocean and survival. Not exactly scented, candle cozy, but comforting in its own raw way. There's a small pot suspended above the flame, steaming gently. Maybe it's boiling snow for water. Maybe it's heating soup made from caribou marrow and roots. Either way, it smells earthy and rich, and your stomach does an awkward gurgle. Someone steps into the dome behind you, slow, relaxed. An elder maybe, bundled in fur and moving with the kind of stillness that comes from knowing you're exactly where you need to be. They nod once. You nod back. No words needed. Because out here, when you've found footprints to follow and shelter to share, you don't talk, you listen. Outside, the wind picks up again. You can hear it brushing across the dome's curved walls like a distant tide. Inside the igloo, though, the storm is reduced to a whisper, just a background lullaby as you settle in deeper. The elder gestures for you to follow. They stoop slightly and lead you through the crawl tunnel once more. Cold air rushes in briefly as you exit, but you're ready for it now. You step back into the snow, cheeks tingling from the warmth you left behind, eyes blinking at the bright, overcast sky. This time, you're not just wandering. You're gonna help build one of these things. The elder walks ahead, stopping at a stretch of wind-packed snow. The good stuff. You kneel beside them, and they hand you a snow knife. It's simple but beautiful, carved from caribou antler, the edge slightly serrated. The handle's worn smooth from years of use. Your first block comes up with a satisfying shunk. The blade slices through the snow like it's slicing through dense cake. You lift the piece out. It's heavy, maybe 20 pounds, but surprisingly sturdy. You feel the weight of survival in your hands. Each block needs to be shaped, not just into a rectangle, but into a wedge. The first few form the foundation circle, angled inward ever so slightly. You work in silence, your hands learning what the elder's hands have long known. There's no measuring tape, no blueprint, just instinct, geometry, and a rhythm older than memory. Funny thought, if someone from the 21st century tried to file a building permit for a house made entirely of snow, City Hall would probably just laugh. But here you are, constructing one with the confidence of an ancient engineer. As the first layer closes into a ring, you begin stacking upward. The trick is to cut each block just right, fitting it into a gentle spiral. Each one leans inward, pressing against its neighbor. The curve grows more obvious with each row, like the shell of a giant snow snail curling overhead. Mainstream historians will tell you igloos are marvels of vernacular architecture. Structures designed perfectly for their environment, using only what's locally available. But that's just a fancy way of saying this works because someone figured it out by being freezing and clever. You pause to check the blocks. The wall leans a bit too far in one spot. The elder tuts softly and reshapes a block with 2 quick cuts. They don't say much. The snow speaks plenty. Now here's your quirky tidbit for the night. In some Inuit traditions, people believed each igloo had a spirit, especially if it housed a family during storms. You weren't just building a shelter. You were waking something up, giving form to a protector made of cold and care. You add more blocks. The dome curves tighter. Your arms ache a little, but it's a good ache, like making something real. You notice how each block joins its neighbors like puzzle pieces, overlapping just enough to hold weight without slipping. The spiral locks everything together. No nails, no glue, just compression and smart angles. Historians still argue whether the technique was uniform across all Inuit groups, or if each region had its own little twist. Some say central Inuit built taller domes, while coastal communities preferred lower, flatter ones to brace against ocean winds. What's consistent is the precision. One misplaced block can shift the whole structure. Eventually, you reach the final gap at the dome's top. This is the moment of truth, the keystone block. You cut it with extra care, shaping it into a perfect fit. The elder nods as you nudge it into place. It slides in and settles. And just like that, the dome is sealed, gravity pulling inward and outward in perfect balance. The sense of completion is almost euphoric. You step back and look at what you've helped create, a snow shelter with no beams, no screws, just harmony in form and function. And it'll hold, not for a season, maybe not even for a whole month, but it'll hold through the storm that's already beginning to gather on the horizon. You carve the entrance tunnel next, a shallow trench leading down into the snow, then curving up into the igloo. This way, heavier cold air settles in the trench, and warmer air stays inside the dome. It's like someone invented passive climate control long before TikTok figured out what thermal mass means. You're nearly done. You smooth the outside wall with the flat of your knife, brushing away loose powder. Then, a final step, a tiny vent hole at the very top. Not too wide, just enough to let out smoke and steam. Without it, moisture from breathing and cooking would condense and freeze along the ceiling, forming icicles that might drip or even fall. And here's something oddly poetic. Those icicles, if they form slowly and stay intact, actually reinforce the dome, like the shelter is rewarding your patience with extra strength. The elder steps back and squints at the finished igloo. They murmur something in a low voice, maybe a blessing, maybe a thank you. You're too tired to ask, you just feel it. A kind of quiet pride. The same feeling kids must have had building forts from couch cushions, multiplied by the fact that this one could save your life. You both crawl inside and sit in the silence. Your gloves leave faint prints on the snow wall as you lean back. The dome is yours now, built with nothing but snow and time and the quiet guidance of someone who's done it 1,000 times. Outside, the wind roars louder. Inside, all is still. You wake slowly, blinking in the soft light. The dome above you glows faintly with reflected snowlight, diffused, gentle, not quite day and not quite night. It takes you a moment to realize you're warm. Not hot, not toasty, but warm enough that your nose doesn't ache and your breath doesn't instantly freeze on your lips. How is this even possible? You lie on a raised platform of snow, covered in caribou hide. Your boots sit near the lamp, drying slowly from yesterday's trek. The air smells faintly of smoke, fur and snow, clean but not sterile, comfortably Arctic. Time to answer a question you've probably been wondering since we started. Why snow? Why not ice? It seems counterintuitive, right? Ice is solid, strong, unyielding, but it's also a terrible insulator. Snow, on the other hand, is basically a billion tiny air pockets held together by frozen fluff. Those trapped air pockets slow down the movement of heat, creating insulation better than a lot of modern materials. In fact, snow's insulating ability is what keeps polar animals burrowed beneath it alive through harsh winters. Quirky fact alert, snow can actually muffle sound more effectively than many acoustic foams. That's why everything outside the igloo feels it's been turned down to a whisper. Your ears aren't broken. The snow is just absorbing your world's volume. You crawl outside and brush the lingering sleep from your eyes. It's a still day, rare and welcome. You kneel beside your dome and run your gloved hand over its outer surface. The blocks you helped place are slightly fused now. The warmth from inside has melted their surfaces, just enough to make them freeze together tighter, creating a seamless outer shell. Each block is now stronger than it was alone. This is how snow bricks auto-ice. They're cut from the wind, packed top layer, usually formed after a few days of steady cold. The consistency is key, too powdery, and it won't hold. Too icy, and it becomes brittle. The perfect snow feels almost like styrofoam. Light, but resistant. Now here's a mainstream fact that surprises most people. A well-built igloo can support the weight of a full-grown adult walking on top. Not that you should try it unless you're confident in your geometry. But yes, the dome's curved shape evenly distributes weight and pressure across all blocks. The same principle that keeps cathedral domes standing applies here, just made with fewer saints and more snow knives. You crouch and study the wall. The cut lines are still visible, but barely. That's another strength of snow construction. It heals itself. The slow, steady inside warmth softens edges, and the cold outside refreezes them. It's like living in a house with repairing walls. You think about your own home, drywall, pipes, bricks, maybe that weird draft that sneaks in around your windows, and you realize how unnecessarily complicated everything is. The igloo isn't crude. It's efficient. Nothing wasted. Every part functional, every shape deliberate. The elder walks past and chuckles as you gently knock on the dome's side. It's firm, with just a bit of give, like packed cork. They show you a trick, how to cut a test block from untouched snow to see if it's building quality. You slice the block, balance it on your palm, and press with your thumb. If it bends slightly before breaking, perfect. If it crumbles or shatters, nope. Try again. Historians still argue whether Inuit building methods varied significantly between families or were largely communal knowledge. Some evidence suggests certain techniques were guarded secrets, passed from parent to child like a recipe or a song. Others think the skill was shared freely because out here, knowledge hoarding gets you nothing but frostbite. You head off with the elder to scout another building spot. Along the way, they point out natural features that influence construction, prevailing wind directions, slope of the land, even where the sun will hit during the short, dim day. You're not just plopping a dome anywhere. You're choosing a nest. You pause near a small ridge where snow has drifted evenly. The elder nods approvingly. The snow here is dense, wind-shaped. Good for cutting. They press a foot into it and listen. A muffled thump. Just right. There's something humbling about learning this. How a block of snow can teach you patience. You cut carefully now, no longer rushing. You understand how precision matters more than speed. You stack slower, but better. The dome grows again, your hands repeating movements they've already memorized, as if this knowledge was just waiting to be reawakened. You pause to warm your fingers on your cheeks. Yep, another traditional trick. Keeps frostbite away. You now respect that snow isn't just a passive medium. It's reactive. Alive in a strange, soft way. By the time the dome is halfway done, a thin mist curls along the horizon. A storm's coming. Nothing violent yet, but a warning. You both pick up speed, knowing time is short. The blocks slide into place quicker now, and soon you're sealing the top. As the last keystone clicks in, you realize this isn't just architecture. It's choreography. One last quirky bit before we end today. Some Inuit believed that the igloo's spiral pattern mirrored the path of spirits ascending to the sky. Each block lifting you closer to clarity, safety, or at least a warm nap. The storm thickens now, wind sharpening into a low growl. You crawl into the dome you built, cheeks stinging, heart calm. Snow might be cold, might even seem boring. But tonight, it's your roof, your heater, your insulation. And, if you're lucky, your pillow. You lie back in the dim stillness of your freshly built igloo. Chin tilted up to the domed ceiling. That's now your shelter. And your skyline. The inside glows softly, a gentle sheen where sunlight manages to pass through the snow blocks. It's not bright, more like moonlight filtered through milky glass, enough to see your own breath in lazy loops. You blink slowly, and your mind tries to wrap itself around the miracle you're warm. Inside a house made of snow, warm is relative, of course. You're not sunbathing. But with your thick parka, fur-lined mitts, and a little shared body heat, it's shockingly cozy. Even better, there's no draft, no rattling windows or buzzing heater. Just the quiet presence of packed snow holding the cold out like a polite but firm bouncer. Your eyes drift toward the tunnel entrance, a curve leading downward, then up again, like a slide you'd find in a playground. If that playground were buried in the Arctic, that shape, not just cool looking, it's brilliant. Cold air sinks, and that dip in the tunnel captures it like a trap. Your body heat, on the other hand, rises and pools at the top of the dome, exactly where you need it. Then there's the light. You might expect a snow house to be pitch black. But nope. Snow lets in light while scattering it in every direction. It's nature's diffuser. That soft inner glow helps your eyes adjust, helps your mind calm, and honestly makes everything look kind of magical. Like you're inside a glowing marshmallow. Quirky fact of the night, some Inuit igloos were even layered. Multi-dome designs connected by tunnels, like a snowy apartment complex. One dome for sleeping, one for cooking, one for visitors. Basically the open concept layout of its time, with fewer potted plants and more fish. Back to your single dome situation, you shift your gaze upward. How is this ceiling not caving in? You're no engineer, but it seems insane that a bunch of tilted snow blocks can defy gravity. The key, of course, is shape. A dome evenly distributes weight. Each block leans into the next, with the topmost keystone bearing downward pressure and spreading it through the spiral. No one block holds the load alone. They all do it together. It's teamwork in geometric form. Historians still argue whether the design was influenced by natural ice caves or developed through experimentation. Whatever the source, the result is genius. Ancient engineers figured out how to curve snow in on itself without blueprints or software. Just instinct and iteration. You stretch a hand upward and touch the wall, cold but dry. That's important. The snow doesn't melt instantly against your skin. The inner warmth isn't strong enough to liquefy it, only to soften and refreeze the joins between blocks. The igloo is always adapting, always healing. Snowflakes meld, water vapor moves, and over time, the dome becomes stronger, not weaker. Outside, the wind starts to howl. You feel it in the walls, a low vibration like a growl through your ribs, but the dome doesn't tremble. No flapping, no rattling. The curved shape lets wind roll over it, not push against it. You realize how brilliant it is to live in something the wind can't really grab. And just for perspective, wind chill outside right now. Probably -50 in here. Comfortable enough to sip broth and not freeze your lips to the bowl. The elder, sitting near the lamp, begins heating water in a small pot. The lamp, a cudlick, burns steadily. It's shallow, filled with seal oil, the wick made of moss or Arctic cotton. The light it casts isn't bright, but it's warm and steady, like candlelight on snow. Enough to see, enough to survive. You watch condensation rise and spiral toward the roof. A tiny vent hole at the top lets it escape. Without that vent, moisture would collect and form ice droplets, eventually becoming dangerous icicles. Too many, and they could drip or even fall. Bad vibes. But get this, in some cases, people would use those ceiling icicles to their advantage. Snap one off, and you've got a makeshift tool. Or if you're a desperate hunter, a last-ditch weapon. Yes, there's at least one confirmed story of someone fashioning an icicle into a pointy surprise. Survival meets innovation. Another quirky tidbit in really extreme cold, some Inuit would line the interior with animal hides to keep condensation off the walls. Not because it added insulation. Just because a damp snow wall isn't fun to brush your shoulder against at midnight. You take another slow breath and let it out, watching the fog drift toward the vent. You're starting to understand the subtle logic in every part of this structure. Nothing's random. Everything has a reason. That small ledge you're sitting on, raised not just for comfort, but to stay out of the coldest air layer. That hollowed trench in the center, where gear is stored, or where extra guests can tuck in if things get crowded. Even the curve of the ceiling has purpose, reflecting warmth back down, keeping heat from pooling too high and escaping. You lie down again and listen. No creaks, no groans, just wind outside, muffled to a hush, and the occasional pop of snow shifting, settling tighter, growing stronger. This place was designed by people who listened to the land, who knew what kind of snow cuts clean, who could build by feel and finish by nightfall. It's not primitive. It's precise. It's not quaint. It's quietly revolutionary. You close your eyes for a moment and smile. There's nothing boring about this history. Not when you're lying beneath it, held safe by the very thing the rest of the world spends all winter trying to shovel off their sidewalks. You stretch your limbs and sit up slowly, brushing frost from your eyelashes. The igloo's walls shimmer faintly with a translucent glow, like they're quietly breathing. Outside, the wind still whips and whines, but inside, stillness, peace. A steady, blanketed silence that wraps around your shoulders like a whisper. It's time to explore, not the Arctic, at least not yet, but the igloo itself. You crawl from your sleeping ledge and move slowly, observing the space around you. This dome, no wider than a few paces across, feels infinitely bigger on the inside. Maybe it's the curve. Maybe it's the quiet. Or maybe it's the way warmth lives here. Against all logic, the central trench, dug lower than the sleeping ledge, is where cold air settles. Simple physics, but brilliant in execution. Your platform is safe above it, snug under furs. Everything in this design reflects an understanding of how heat and air move. And if it weren't for the snow walls, glowing faintly like frosted glass, you'd almost forget what this shelter is made from. You notice something hanging on a carved snow hook. Yes, an actual hook made of ice and packed snow. It holds a pair of mitts, drying near the cudlake. That's the lamp, still burning with a flickering flame. A shallow dish of stone, seal oil bubbling gently, its flame fed by a twisted wick made from Arctic moss. One tiny lamp can keep the temperature up to 40 or even 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That's right. No chimney. No firewood. Just rendered blubber in time. Mainstream fact of the moment. Early Arctic explorers were often stunned to find the inside of an igloo not only survivable, but, wait for it, comfortable. Some even preferred it to their own tents, which would flap, rip, or frost over within days. You reach toward the ceiling, watching your hand's shadow ripple across the snow. The inside of the dome has started to smooth. The heat from inside melts the inner layer ever so slightly, then it refreezes as a thin glaze. This strengthens the structure, like a self-reinforcing shell. You wonder if your apartment could do that. Doubtful. The elder gives a small grunt as they settle beside you, offering a shallow bowl of warm broth. You sip, it's salty, fatty, and oddly satisfying. Shield soup, possibly. You don't ask. Out here you accept what warms you. They gesture to a bone-carved tool near the sleeping ledge. A scraper, probably for cleaning hides. But it's not alone. There's a small pile of gear tucked neatly near the rear wall, extra fur, fishing line, maybe even a carved doll made of driftwood. This isn't a tent, it's a home. Not permanent, maybe, but complete. Quirky detail in some communities, igloos were known to host celebrations. Singing, storytelling, and laughter all bouncing off the dome like music in a snowy amphitheater. The acoustics are strange, soft, and echo-less, but perfect for sharing voices. No mics needed. And speaking of voices, your own sounds different in here. Muted. As if the air itself is thicker, calmer. Maybe it's the snow. Maybe it's the quiet company. Or maybe it's that you've finally stopped shivering long enough to hear yourself think. Historians still argue whether the design of the igloo was entirely Inuit innovation or influenced by older, ancestral practices. Some theorize links to natural snow caves, others to ancient wind shelters. Either way, the evolution of this structure isn't random. It's thoughtful, tested by generations who learned the Arctic, not by fighting it, but by listening. You start to notice the details you missed earlier. A few small holes bored into the snow wall for ventilation. A patch of frozen blood near the tunnel entrance. Maybe from a hunted seal. Maybe a reminder that life here is earned, not given. And above the tunnel, a small flap of skin acts as a door, insulating the airlock and keeping warmth inside. The elder reaches for a sealed bag made of gut or hide, unwraps it, and reveals snow. But not just any snow. This snow is dense, clearly packed, and probably used for repairs. You watch them press it into a gap near the dome base and smooth it with practiced ease. Maintenance, even in a house made from frozen vapor. Your breath catches in your throat when you realize something. There are no tools lying around that you'd recognize. No metal, no nails, no plastic. Just bone, skin, stone, and snow. And yet nothing is missing. The space is efficient. Everything has a role. Everything is respected. That's when you see it. The firelight dancing across a snow carving on the inner wall. A shape, maybe a fish, or a dog, or just a mark left by habit. You reach out to trace it, and the elder chuckles, amused at your curiosity. You've started seeing the igloo not just as shelter, but as something alive, and maybe, in a way, it is. You lie back down, pulling the caribou hide over your shoulders. Your body relaxes before your mind does. And that's saying something. The cold is outside now. Far away. On the other side of 2 feet of compressed air crystals, stacked in a dome that defies the wind. You fall asleep with your eyes on the ceiling, watching frost sparkle in the flicker of an oil flame. And you dream not of fireplaces or electric heaters, but of spirals, of snow bricks, of breath turned to architecture. You're not just warm, you're home. You wake to a faint creaking sound. Not the ominous kind, but more like a deep breath settling into sleep. The igloo shifts subtly around you, not falling, not breaking, just settling. You blink up at the domed ceiling, your breath fogging briefly, and marvel again it's still there, still whole. A curved vault of snow overhead, doing the impossible. Your rational brain wants to argue. Snow shouldn't hold itself up like this, not in a dome. Not without scaffolding. But there it is, firm and unmoving, cradling your every breath. The elder, already up and working, glances toward the ceiling and gives a small nod. No concern. Just awareness. You sit up and start tracing the blocks again with your eyes, following the upward spiral to the center point, where the final keystone block locks everything together, like a snowy cork in a giant bottle. And that's the key. The entire structure, from base to top, leans inward. Gravity pulls down on each block, but because of the angle, the force also pushes the blocks together. Instead of collapsing, they compress, strengthening each other. It's a perfect balance of tension and compression, all achieved with hand. Cut wedges of frozen fluff. Mainstream fact for this morning: this architectural principle isn't unique to the Inuit. You'll find it in Roman arches, in Gothic cathedrals, even in geodesic domes. But the igloo, that's the only one made entirely from snow and wind. You watch as the elder uses the snow knife to smooth a new block for reinforcement. They've noticed a small shift near the entrance. Just normal settling, but better to fix now than let it grow. A few swift cuts, a careful press, and the wall is whole again. The sound the knife makes against the snow is soft, satisfying, like brushing suede. You crawl toward the center, where the central trench still holds the cold air. A small pot hangs over the kudlik again, bubbling gently. Your face warms just sitting near it. The scent of something fishy fills the dome. Arctic char, maybe. Whatever it is, your stomach votes yes. Quirky moment ahead. Some igloo builders would tell you the keystone. The very last block at the top. Had to be placed with care, ceremony even. Not because of superstition, but because placing it wrong meant the whole dome could collapse. Some traditions say it was bad, luck to speak while placing it. Others treated it like naming a ship, something done with quiet reverence. You glance again at the dome, trying to imagine that final moment. The weight of precision. The hush as the block slid into place. The gentle pressure from all sides locking it in. You realize now it's not just snow holding the dome up. It's geometry. Yes, but also memory. Repetition. 1,000 generations worth of fingers finding the right angle in a world where a mistake meant frostbite or worse. Historians still argue whether the igloo design spread outward or evolved independently in different Arctic communities. Some believe the curved dome and spiral block method came from a central tradition. Others think it was rediscovered again and again by those who simply had no other option but to solve the same freezing puzzle. Your fingers brush along a seam where two blocks meet. There's no mortar. No sealant, just snow to snow. And yet the connection is so tight that no air escapes. Any melting from the lamp just refreezes into a tighter seal. It's a self-repairing structure, tuned to its environment. Suddenly, there's a thump outside. Not danger, just a soft whump as more snow drifts against the dome. You imagine the outside now, blanketed in wind-driven powder, the igloo slowly disappearing beneath the snow. That's not a problem. It's camouflage. It's insulation. The more snow settles on top, the warmer the inside becomes. You grin, remembering that hilarious urban myth about igloos melting from body heat. They don't. At least not in a way that matters. The inside warms just enough to make you comfy, but not enough to liquefy the walls. In fact, slight melting actually strengthens the dome, as we've said before. Like an icy hug that tightens the longer you stay. You think about how roofs in the modern world rely on angles to shed snow. But igloos embrace it. They welcome the burden. A good igloo isn't fighting the Arctic. It's dancing with it. You shift closer to the wall again, pressing your palm to it. Solid, dense. Each block about 4 inches thick. Just right for retaining heat, but not collapsing under its own weight. The walls curve inward, not just for strength, but to minimize the internal volume. Less space means less air to heat. Another example of how every part of the design works in harmony. And the ceiling, well, you keep coming back to that. Because it shouldn't work. It just shouldn't. But there it is, floating above you like a frozen hilo. You close your eyes and imagine the first person who figured this out. How many times did they fail? How many times did the dome fall before they nailed the perfect angle? The right pressure? The right snow? Probably a lot. But they kept going, because when failure means freezing, you figure things out fast. You open your eyes again. The elder is watching you, a faint smile on their face. You point upward, and they nod. You understand now, don't you? Yes. You really do. You press your palms together, trying to feel the heat still lingering from the tiny flame of the cudlick. Outside, the wind has softened again, turning into more of a whisper than a threat. The igloo holds the silence like a song no one dares interrupt. It's not just a place now. It's a presence. A snowy cathedral with a sleeping heart. Your nose catches a new scent. Sharp, earthy, a little smoky. The elder is preparing the day's heat source, trimming the wick of the cudlick and gently coaxing the flame higher. You watch the process closely, because this isn't a fire pit or a wood stove. This is precision survival for flame and fish oil. The lamp is shallow, carved from soapstone, smooth and heavy. It holds seal oil rendered from blubber, thick as syrup and rich in calories. It's more than fuel. It's warmth, it's cooking oil, it's light. Honestly, it's the unsung hero of the igloo, because without it, you're not surviving long. The wick is made from Arctic moss, dried and twisted. It floats on the oil's surface and burns with a steady, flickering glow. You lean in, entranced. No smoke. No hissing. Just a quiet flame dancing against the dome's curved white walls, casting soft golden light. Mainstream fact. Here the cudlick isn't exclusive to the Inuit. Similar lamps were used by Arctic peoples across the north, from Greenland to Alaska. Each had regional tweaks, But the principle remained the same: stone, fat, flame, and function. You shift a bit on your sleeping platform and notice how the heat from the lamp doesn't rise in waves. It disperses slowly, evenly. You can feel it gathering just below the dome, trapped by the gentle curve. And that's by design. The heat radiates outward and down, not upward and out. Every flicker of warmth is kept, not wasted. You chuckle quietly, thinking how your apartment's heating system can barely manage the same feat without making a racket or blowing dust into your eyes. Now for your quirky moment, the smell of burning seal oil. It's not exactly Channel No 5. It's strong, tangy, kind of like smoked fish met a campfire in a snowstorm. But to someone raised here, it's the smell of home. Babies have fallen asleep to this smell. Couples have cooked first meals with this flame. Elders have told stories in its light. Speaking of meals, the elder adds a small piece of dried meat into a shallow pot and sets it over the flame. The oil's heat warms the stone fast. You watch transfixed as steam curls up, fragrant and earthy. The meal might be basic, but it's hot, and that alone makes it 5 stars out here. Historians still argue whether these indoor lamps were used year-round or reserved for the worst months. Some accounts suggest summertime living shifted to tents or open structures, and the lamp stayed in storage. Others claim the kudlik was a year-round tool, brought out even in warmer seasons for cooking or ceremonies. You sip broth again, salty, rich, warming from the inside out, and glance around the igloo. Everything's in balance: heat, light, silence, and shelter. There's no clutter.
No excess.
Just what's needed. A few tools, a few furs, and a flame that's both practical and poetic. The elder lays out a strip of fur to dry near the lamp, adjusting it so it doesn't get too close. They've done this hundreds of times, maybe more. The dance of distance. Close enough to warm, not enough to scorch. You're beginning to understand that this isn't just survival. It's art. Art without gallery walls. You think about your own life, power outages, camping trips, that time you tried to use a fire starter in the backyard and nearly lit your sleeve on fire. Out here, there's no room for mistakes like that. The stakes are high. Every flame is earned. Every burn avoided is a small miracle. You lean closer and examine the lamp again. The oil is thick, golden, and it moves like lava when stirred. One little bowl of this can burn for hours, even days, if used correctly. And yes, people knew how to stretch it. They'd ration the wick, shift it left or right to spread the heat evenly. Not too much. Not too fast. There's wisdom in every inch of soot left on the stone. Another tidbit: in some Inuit homes, the kudlik was passed down like an heirloom. Not just a tool, but a memory holder. The marks on the stone, the way it burns uneven on one side. Those quirks were known, even loved. Like how you recognize your grandma's cast iron skillet by the way it sizzles different. You lie back, hands folded over your stomach, and let the warmth rise to your face. Your ears are still cold, but they're not numb. Your cheeks pink, but not chapped. You've crossed a line somewhere between surviving and simply living. That's what the flame does. It brings the room to life. Outside, the wind kicks snow up against the wall again. You hear the soft hiss of it slapping the domes outside, but you don't flinch. The snow isn't a threat anymore. It's insulation. And inside your snowy sanctuary, a single flicker of seal oil holds it all together. You wake to the sound of giggling, soft, high-pitched, and unmistakably the kind that only children make when they think no one's listening. Your eyes open slowly to the glow of the kudlik, still burning low in its stone dish. The igloo is no longer just yours and the elders'. Overnight, it became a household. Across from you, a young child, barely old enough to sit on their own, is playing with a bit of sanu cord. They're bundled head to toe in thick, patchy furs, face poking out like a seal pup from its den. Their giggle echoes off the walls like a bubble in a bottle, quiet but persistent. Somewhere near the tunnel entrance, a woman, maybe their mother, kneels beside the trench, whispering something soft. Her breath fogs the air, and the little one mimics her shape with the cord, trying to loop it like a game. You roll over slightly, not wanting to interrupt. This is family life in a snow globe. Cozy, quiet, intensely close. Every sound, every movement, every breath is shared. There's no privacy here. But there's warmth, literal and emotional. The mother hums as she works. You can't make out the words, but the tone carries. A lullaby or a morning song. Your ears catch the rhythm, a repetition that sounds like snow falling gently on a hide roof. Then, bark. Not from a dog, but from outside. A staccato burst, low and guttural. Seal, maybe two of them calling from the edge of the sea ice. The child claps, delighted. They know that sound. It means food. It means life continues. Mainstream history tells us that Inuit families often lived in communal igloos during the harshest months, combining their warmth, labor, and stories into one shared space. Some domes were connected by tunnels, forming snow villages. You imagine that now, a spiderweb of curved corridors linking one glowing bubble to the next, each filled with laughter, whispering, or sleep. You sit up slowly. Your breath makes a soft puff in the air. The igloo is brighter this morning. Snowlight filters through the blocks like soft paper, painting the walls in a dreamy blue, white hue. The child notices you and waves the sinew like a streamer. You wave back. The elder hands you a flat piece of dried meat, tough but flavorful. You chew slowly, watching as the family goes through the morning routine. The mother prepares the baby's boots, tiny ones lined with rabbit fur. She checks the seams, tightens the ankle cords, sets them near the lamp to warm. And then comes the unexpected detail, a small mirror. Not glass, but a polished scrap of metal, maybe salvaged from trade or a lost ship. She uses it to check the suit on her cheeks. There's no vanity in it, just ritual, a readiness. Even in a snow house, presentation matters. Quirky cultural moment A. Some Inuit would blacken their faces before long hunting trips, partly to reduce glare, partly for spiritual protection. Children sometimes copied this just for fun, smearing soot and pretending to be hunters like their parents. It's camouflage and costume in one. Historians still debate how strictly gender roles were enforced in traditional igloo life. Some records describe clear divisions: men hunted, women cooked and sewed. Others suggest far more fluidity, especially during emergencies. After all, survival doesn't always respect tradition. Whoever could stitch a boot or catch a seal did so. You look around the igloo and begin to notice the small indicators of long-term habitation. A patch where the wall has been reinforced, not just repaired. A small shelf carved into the snow holding personal items, a bit of soapstone, a carved comb, a set of bone needles tucked into a fur pouch. This isn't just temporary shelter, this is home. You catch a story mid-flow. The elder is speaking to the child now, gesturing toward the ceiling, their voice rising and falling like a gentle tide. The child listens with wide eyes, mouth open slightly. You lean in to hear. The story is about the skay dogs, spirits that howl during storms. The elder mimics the wind's howl, and the child squeals, clapping their hands to their ears in delight. You smile, remembering how even scary tales can feel safe when told from a warm bed under snow walls. A quirky Inuit belief that the aurora borealis, the northern lights, could be the spirits of ancestors playing a ball game in the sky. Some said whistling at them would bring them closer. Others warned you never to whistle, or they might snatch your soul. Depends on who's telling the story, and whether you're trying to sleep or stay awake. You lie back down and close your eyes, listening now to the rhythm of the household. The crackle of the lamp, the occasional giggle, a soft cough, the scrape of a knife being sharpened. Life in an igloo isn't loud, but it's never truly quiet either. It breathes, it hums, it pulses with tiny movements, just like a heart. And as you drift somewhere between waking and sleep again, you realize something beautiful. Even in a dome made of frozen water, life doesn't freeze, it multiplies. Later in the day, you're outside the igloo, Wind brushing past your face like a cautious stranger. The cold is sharp again. Nothing brutal, just biting. But you barely feel it now. Your body has adapted, layered in fur and habit. You move with a sense of purpose, because today you're going hunting. The elder hands you a spear, slender, polished, tipped with carved bone, and maybe a sliver of metal scavenged from a shipwreck long forgotten by its makers. You cradle it carefully. This isn't a weapon, it's a legacy. Your boots crunch in the snow as you join the small group of hunters gathered near a sled. There are no engines, no headlights, no plastic. Just sleds carved from driftwood and lashed with sinew, pulled by teams of dogs yipping excitedly. The dogs are eager, born for this. You pat one on the head. It sneezes in response and wiggles, eager to run. You set out across the ice, the sled skimming over snow like it knows the way. The horizon is flat, infinite. You're not chasing anything yet. First, you listen, you watch, you read the ice. Mainstream fact, traditional Inuit hunting wasn't just about strength. It was a masterclass in patience and observation. They'd watch for breathing holes, track shadows, follow subtle cracks in sea ice. Every shift in the wind, every sound beneath your boots could mean seal, or walrus, or danger. You kneel by a seal-breathing hole, marked by frost patterns that look almost like fingerprints. The elder motions for silence. You grip your spear, heartbeat slow, ears open. Minutes pass, then more minutes. The wind gusts gently, and your toes start to ache with stillness. Quirky detail. Some hunters would place a feather or a small strand of fur near the breathing hole. When the air stirred, they'd see it move before hearing a thing. It was a primitive, brilliant motion detector. Time passes. Your legs go numb. The world shrinks to the ring of frost around the hole. You start wondering if seal hunting is just very elaborate meditation. Then, movement. Barely a ripple. The elder shifts beside you. You don't breathe. The seal surfaces just enough to gasp air, and the elder's arm moves with a grace that's more instinct than thought. The spear flashes. The ice cracks. There's a splash. Then, a cry of success. You help haul the seal out, grateful, respectful. There's no cheering, no chest beating, just quiet thanks. The animal will feed a family for days. The skin will become boots. The oil will feed the flame. The bones may even become tools. Nothing is wasted. Historians still argue whether sharing was strictly communal or based on kinship ties in traditional Inuit society. What's clear is this: food from a hunt didn't belong to just the hunter. It was distributed. Neighbors, elders, anyone in need. You didn't survive alone in the Arctic. You survived together. Back at the igloo, the air warms quickly. The seal is prepared with practiced hands. Strips of meat are laid out to dry, and the oil is poured into a stone container, waiting to fuel another day's light. The child from earlier watches with wide eyes, mimicking the motions, learning without being taught. You sip hot broth, your gloves stained slightly with seal blood. You're not bothered. This is what life looks like here. Raw, real, deeply connected. Another quirky moment. Some Inuit families used snow knives not just for building, but for butchering. Same tool, different rhythm. A snow knife made from antler or ivory can slice clean through a seal if sharpened right. You glance at yours and feel a new respect. The elder shows you how to scrape the skin clean, working in smooth strokes, humming softly under their breath. You join in, hands clumsy but willing. They nod, approving. You glance toward the dome of the igloo, its shape softened slightly under a fresh layer of snow. Inside, the mother prepares the lamp again, and the child hums the same melody you heard this morning. It's all connected: the hunt, the home, the heat. A cycle built not just on need, but on trust. You think back to your city life. Grocery stores, heat bills, takeout apps. Out here, survival is no less sophisticated, just more immediate. And somehow, far more graceful. As the sky darkens again, because night comes quickly this far north, you help carve a shallow snow shelf near the igloo's side. The meat will freeze quickly, preserving it without any need for packaging or freezers. The Arctic does the job naturally. You climb back inside, joints sore, fingers stinging, but heart steady. Today, you weren't just a guest. You were part of something older than borders. A rhythm older than nations. A way of living that laughs in the face of frostbite and says, "Come in, there's soup." That night, you lie close to the lamp again, belly full, cheeks tingling from a mix of windburn and laughter. The igloo feels livelier than usual, almost festive. The air is warm with more bodies, more voices. Shadows flicker across the curved walls as people settle into their spots, elbow to elbow, blanket to blanket. Someone adjusts the vent, letting just enough smoke out to keep the lamp flame clean. Tonight is story night. The elder clears their throat, a soft rasp, almost shy, and the room hushes like it's remembering something sacred. Everyone leans in, except the child, who bounces slightly on their heels, already wide-eyed. The story begins with a raven, smart, sly, and always up to something. This raven, the elder says, once stole the moon. Or was it the sun? The details shift depending on who's listening. Either way, the trickster spirit flew into the sky, feathers flashing with light, and humans were left to find their way in darkness. The tale twists and turns, full of mischief and consequence. Laughter bubbles up from the group, even though they've heard it before. Especially because they've heard it before. Mainstream historical fact, oral tradition in Inuit culture wasn't just entertainment. It was education, identity, history, and memory, all rolled into one. Long before books, or when books froze solid, stories carried everything that mattered. Quirky detail incoming, some elders used carved figures to tell their stories. Little soapstone bears or ivory birds that they'd move with the tail, like a minimalist puppet show. You spot one now on the ledge. A small, carved wolf. It's smooth. Wornback tells you it's been held many times. Its story well traveled. The elder continues, voice low, melodic. The child listens with their whole face, tilting their head at every new twist. There's no once upon a time. Here, the past and present blur together. Spirits still walk, ravens still plot, and the sky is never just empty space. It's a canvas for myths that breathe. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the words wash over you. They flow like snowflake, as soft, unique, and impossible to catch twice in the same form. You're not just hearing a tale, you're stepping into it. Then the story shifts, a darker tone. The room tightens with silence. The elder speaks of Kalupalik, a creature beneath the sea ice. She waits in the water, skin green as seaweed, hair floating like kelp, and she steals away children who wander too far from the village. The message, stay close, stay safe, but also be curious, because even fear is part of the adventure. You open one eye. The child is clutching their fur blanket a little tighter, but grinning all the same. They want to believe. Historians still argue whether creatures like Kalupalik were purely cautionary tales or rooted in real fears, people lost to thin ice, storms, or the unknowable depths of the ocean. Some say these myths offered ways to process grief. Others believe they were tools of parenting genius. Tell a good enough monster story, and your kids will stay out of trouble. You look around the igloo and realize something remarkable. The space is built for stories. The dome catches sound, softens it, bounces it gently back like a friend passing secrets. No echoes, no harshness, just warmth. And then, from the corner, a younger voice picks up the thread. The story continues now from a new mouth. The same plot, but with tweaks, a different ending. This version ends with the raven getting caught and being tickled by the northern lights until he drops the moon back into the sky. The child bursts into laughter, and honestly, so do you. Another quirky cultural tradition, some stories weren't told in the summer. Too light, too dangerous. The spirits could hear more clearly when the sun stayed high. Winter, with its long shadows and closed doors, was safer. A better time for remembering. You stretch your legs beneath the furs and feel the igloo wrap tighter around you. Not physically, but emotionally. You are sealed in warmth and wonder. The cold, The snow, the isolation, it's all kept out by a ring of laughter, a flicker of flame, and the soothing rhythm of myth. Eventually, the stories slow. The lamp dims. One by one, voices soften into whispers, then fade entirely. The elder's hand rests on the carved wolf. The child curls against their mother. You lie back and watch the top of the dome fade into shadows. No need for screens. No books. Just memory. Spoken aloud. Preserved in the hush of snow. You think of all the stories you've forgotten. All the ones that never get passed on because no one slowed down long enough to speak them aloud. In this tiny dome of frozen water, story lives. Story matters. And tonight you were part of the tale. By morning, the stories have faded into dreams, and the igloo stirs quietly. You sit up slowly, the usual frost rim on your blanket's edge glistening like sugar. Outside, a muted light seeps through the walls, hinting at a gray, heavy sky. There's weather coming. You can feel it in the stillness. The elder's already up, inspecting a small pouch of supplies. Today, you're heading toward the edge of the settlement. If you can call a scattered patch of igloos a settlement. To see something rarely discussed in history books. Trade, tools, and taboos. You bundle up, stepping out through the tunnel entrance, and greet the cold like an old frenemy. It pinches, but you barely flinch anymore. The snow underfoot is packed with footprints. Wide, zigzagging paths connecting each igloo, like snow, stamped hallways between rooms. You walk with the elder toward a low dome, smaller than the rest, with faint carvings near the entrance. Inside is a family recently arrived from a coastal hunting trip. You duck inside and feel a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Not warmer or colder, but different. Laid out on a snow shelf are goods, a polished piece of obsidian, gleaming, black and sharp enough to shave bark, a carved harpoon tip made of narwhal tusk, and, curiously, a small copper pendant shaped like a fish. Trade, not in piles, not with scales or receipts, but barter, respect, and recognition. Mainstream history often skips over how connected these snow-bound communities were. Inuit groups traded across massive distances, hundreds of miles in some cases, moving goods like furs, tools, and precious stone by sled and kayak, often through unthinkable conditions. A single carved needle might have passed through 5 hands before finding its way here. Quirky tidbit: Inuit oral histories include accounts of trading with Norse settlers from Greenland. Some even suggest iron tools and wood scraps found their way into igloo building kits long before European contact was official. Historians still argue whether those tales are exaggerated or glimpses of a truth lost to snowdrift and silence. The elder gestures to a blade, an ulu, the curved woman's knife used for everything from food prep to hide scraping. This one is special. The handle is driftwood, etched with spirals, and the blade is not bone. It's metal, not modern steel, but something older, hammered and dulled from travel. A treasure. You're offered a chance to hold it. The balance is perfect. You wonder how many animals it's dressed, how many boots it's helped make. Tools here aren't just useful. They're imbued with memory, shaped by hands long gone. And then, as if on cue, a conversation shifts toward behavior, subtle and serious. Someone says something about the snow melting strangely near their igloo. Someone else mutters about a broken rule. You can't catch every word, but the tone is clear. A taboo has been breached. Inuit life, while deeply practical, wasn't without its rules. Many unwritten, all enforced by community pressure. Some taboos were spiritual. Don't eat land and sea animals in the same meal. Don't whistle at the northern lights. Don't disrespect a hunted animal spirit. Others were survival-based. Never use up the last lamp oil. Don't wander without a knife. Don't waste water by melting snow indoors too quickly. You hear someone joke, not without bite, about art snow. Turns out that's a real superstition. Melting snow too fast, or too carelessly, was seen as dangerous. Some believed it offended the snow itself, or could bring bad luck. Others simply knew that improper water handling could flood the igloo's trench, or cause the roof to weaken. Science and superstition, swirling like a snowflake. The elder laughs at the joke, then adds their own. Once, a man melted so much snow indoors that his floor turned to slush and he nearly became a fish. Everyone laughs. The tension breaks. Taboo noted. Lesson absorbed. Historians still debate whether these cultural codes emerged from spiritual belief or environmental necessity. Likely, it's both. When your world is snow and silence, consequences speak loud. You step outside again, snowflakes drifting lazily from the sky. The world is going white once more, but your mind is turning over the weight of what you just saw. Trade tools, taboos, not written down, but felt. Lived. You glance at your own gloves, the seams now repaired with a borrowed needle. Even that, simple mending, was a small moment of exchange. You needed. Someone gave. No coin changed hands, just respect. Back near your igloo, the elder holds up a small pouch made of dried intestine. Inside, berries, slightly frozen, traded days ago for a strip of seal meat. They pop one into their mouth and offer you one too. It's tart. Unexpected. You grin. Even out here, there's room for a treat. And as the wind picks up again, you feel something deeper than the cold. A connection. Not just to the people around you, but to the ancient rhythms they move in. Sharing not just stories, but survival. You duck back into the igloo with a pouch of obsidian slivers in your pocket and the taste of sea-soaked berries on your tongue. Not a bad day for living in a snowball. The storm rolls in fast. One of those Arctic tempests that doesn't announce itself with thunder, but with a sudden, pressing stillness. You're outside, helping reinforce the igloo when the light dims in a way that makes your skin prickle. The air shifts. The sky thickens with snow, gray as old wool. The elder glances upward, then toward the horizon. Time to move. Not away, but into action. You hustle back toward the dome, grabbing a snow knife and a bundle of caribou hides. This isn't your first storm now. You know what to do. More or less. The igloo you've lived in, slept in, eaten in. It needs a quick upgrade. The outer wall is already strong, but in a blizzard. You want it stronger. The elder shows you how to bank extra snow along the base. Angled drifts that fortify the structure and help wind slide over instead of pound straight in. The dome becomes smoother, rounder, more aerodynamic. Quirky fact, some Inuit called this process feeding the igloo. It's like giving your house a winter coat made of itself. The snow you pile on doesn't melt it. It tightens the bonds, adds thickness, and seals gaps. Inside, the sleeping platform is lined with fresh furs. The cudlick is trimmed, the wick pulled to one side to prevent it from smoking. You hang a hide over the tunnel entrance. Not fully closed, but enough to block wind from rushing in. The temperature difference inside versus out, it's going to be massive soon. Your snow house is about to show off. Mainstream history fact, Arctic blizzards could drop temperatures by 50 degrees in a matter of hours, with visibility cut to zero. Tents. Torn. Boats. Useless. But igloos, those curved little miracles, stood firm. Back outside, the wind arrives, it doesn't sneak, it slaps. Snow flies horizontally, stinging your cheeks like sand. You crouch, blinking through lashes coated in ice, and press a new slab of snow into place near the dome's side. It's like sculpting during an earthquake. But the structure holds. The snow around the igloo begins to pile up. And that's exactly what you want. More snow means more insulation. You scramble back through the tunnel, brushing off powder as you crawl inside. The change is instant. From howl to hush, from sting to still. The dome glows faintly, the cudlick flickering, the air warm and thick with quiet. The elder nods. You did well. You lie back, breathing hard. The wind howls outside like a wild thing, but here, the world is slowed, safe. The storm has teeth, but you've got snow on your side, and the science behind this still amazes you. Snow is around 90-95% trapped air. It insulates like nothing else. A 2-foot thick wall can block even the harshest wind chill. And the rounded shape, that's nature's best defense. No corners to catch gusts, no edges to snap. The storm rushes over your igloo like water around a rock. Historians still argue whether stormproofing techniques varied by region. Some believe coastal Inuit added extra snow caps during bad weather. Others think interior communities relied more on multiple connected domes. What's clear is this storms were expected, and so were the solutions. You sip warm broth, your hands finally calm. The child from next door bursts in through the tunnel, wide-eyed and half, laughing, chased by a parent shaking their head. Even in a storm, there's time for games. You learn a few more tricks as the hours pass, like how to use the heat from cooking to dry mittens without letting them soak the fur platform, or how to pack snow inside small wall cracks, not outside them, so the melt refreeze cycle seals better. You even carve a shallow shelf for keeping oil near the lamp, where it stays fluid. Here's a strange little detail. Some igloo dwellers would sing to the wind, not to calm it, just to mark time. Singing during a storm kept fear at bay. It also helped pass the hours. So you hum. Just a little. The elder joins in, a low tone like something carried across snow for centuries. By nightfall, if you can call it that, when the sun barely rises, the storm is a presence. You hear it around the dome, pressing like a giant, rolling bear. But the igloo doesn't move, doesn't creak. It holds. You lie down with the child curled beside you, both of you watching the lamp's shadow sway. Outside, chaos. Inside, stability. And for all our modern tech, you can't help but think, who really has the better storm shelter? As sleep takes you, the wind peaks, then starts to fade. The snow settles against the dome in heavy layers. You feel the world burying you gently, like a promise of quiet. And you realize something. This house isn't just a defense. It's a response. To the cold, the wind, the dark. It doesn't defy nature. It listens to it, learns from it, curves with it. And because of that, you sleep. Through the storm. Beneath the snow. Inside a dome drawn from ancient hands. And smarter than any wall you've ever lived behind. Morning arrives in a hush. No birdsong. No rooster crow, just light pressing gently against the inside of your eyelids. You blink awake and notice it immediately. The wind is gone. The storm has passed, leaving behind a world wrapped in even deeper silence. You shift beneath your furs, half expecting the igloo to be buried or broken. But no, it holds. The dome is tighter now, insulated by a fresh skin of drifted snow. The tunnel entrance has a thin layer of powder, but it's still passable. You've just lived through your first Arctic blizzard, tucked safely inside a shelter made entirely of frozen vapor. No big deal. You crawl outside. The world has changed. Everything is smoother, rounder, as if someone ran a giant icing spatula over the land. The air is calm, breathless. The snow glows under the low, hanging sun. You inhale, and it smells clean, pure cold, no diesel, no plastic, no burnt toast. Just snow, wind, and the faint salt of the sea. But not far off, change is visible in another way. Near the horizon, you spot figures, oddly shaped, out of place. A group of people. A sled, but not the kind you've seen before. Wooden runners, yes, but with iron bolts. And the people, they're not dressed in furs. Thick wool, heavy boots, and something about their posture. Rigid, careful. The elder sees them too. Their eyes narrow, unreadable. These are not neighbors. These are outsiders. Welcome to the era of colonizers, missionaries, and rifles. It doesn't hit like a storm, but it reshapes everything just as permanently. Mainstream historical fact: from the 19th century onward, European and Canadian authorities began a slow, often coercive process of colonizing the Inuit North. With them came religion, trade goods, diseases, and policies that would uproot generations of knowledge. Igloos, sled dogs, hunting rituals. Many of these were pushed aside in favor of Western norms. You follow the elder toward the approaching group, steps crunching over crusted snow. One of the outsiders smiles politely and raises a hand. Another carries a book. You already know what's coming. Their speech is awkward. Their attempts at local words stumble. They ask questions, offer metal tools, trade beads. One man has a camera and wants to take a photo of the igloo. You watch the elder stiffen. The photo will likely end up in a museum or textbook, a slice of primitive life, stripped of its context and turned into spectacle. The elder smiles anyway, but it's the kind of smile people wear when they're calculating 1,000 things behind their eyes. Quirky moment, you learn that some Inuit families began building demonstration igloos for outsiders. Perfectly shaped, overly clean, never slept in. Tourists snapped pictures. Anthropologists took notes. Meanwhile, real life continued just outside the frame. Historians still argue how much these encounters changed daily life at first. Some records suggest collaboration and mutual learning. Others speak of forced relocations, residential schools, and the erosion of cultural practices. What's certain is this: the Arctic didn't stay in touch, and the igloo, once a symbol of self-sufficient brilliance, was often reduced to stereotype. You walk with the elder back toward your dome, ears burning with questions you don't know how to ask. The visitors have left supplies: a tin of biscuits, a wool blanket, a few rounds of ammunition. The gifts are useful, but the cost, less visible. Inside the igloo, the mood is different now. The child watches silently as the elder folds the blanket and sets it aside. The family doesn't speak for a while. Even the lamp's flame seems quieter, unsure. You pick up your snow knife and step outside again. The dome still stands. It has survived another storm. But there are other kinds of storms now, ones that come with clipboards and books. Ones that smile while reshaping the future. Later, you sit beside the elder as they sharpen a harpoon tip. Their eyes stay on the blade, but they speak softly. They think we're old. They think we are melting, but they don't see. This snow, it remembers, and suddenly you do see it. The igloo isn't just shelter, it's defiance, it's design. It's a memory you can sit inside, a rejection of waste, a celebration of silence. It's everything the outsiders overlook while jotting notes in cold leather journals. You watch as the elder scrapes the harpoon blade against stone one final time, then slips it into a seal skin wrap. The storm may have passed, but you get the sense that a different kind of battle has just begun. Not loud, not even immediate, but one that asks, how do you stay yourself when the world is shifting beneath your feet? You crawl back into the igloo one more time, brush snow from your parka, and listen to the wind, or rather, its absence. It will return, and when it does, so will the builders. The hunters, the singers, the ones who whisper stories into snow walls and teach their children how to cut the perfect block. Because if the snow remembers, so will they. The snow is falling again, but now it's soft and quiet, a gentle drift, not a storm. You're outside with a teenager, watching them slice into a fresh bank of packed snow with a confidence you recognize. Their knife is newer, maybe store-bought, but their grip, that's inherited. You see the elder's rhythm in their hands. They cut the block at an angle, test it for density with a practiced thumb, then lay it into place at the base of a new dome. This isn't just practice. This is legacy in motion. You kneel beside them, helping steady the next block. They glance at you, smirk, and say, "Too soft. This one's garbage." Then they toss it and carve another. You laugh. The Arctic doesn't reward politeness. It rewards precision. The dome rises slowly, no rush. Each block set in place, angled inward, spiraling upward. The teenager hums under their breath, some pop tune twisted into a lullaby by the wind. Their parka is patched, not matching. Their boots are fur, lined but flecked with neon. Tradition meets thrift store. But their blocks, perfect. This igloo isn't for show. It's not a photo op or a museum piece. It's for a cousin who just had a baby and needs space while the main house gets fixed. Same dome, same shape, same spiral, new generation. Mainstream history often treats traditional Inuit snow shelters as obsolete, like a footnote. But here you are, holding a block steady while a teenager with Fi builds a dome that could stand against a blizzard. Nothing obsolete about that. Quirky moment. The teenager pulls out a phone. Yes, a phone, and plays a short video of their grandmother showing how to shape the keystone block. She says it has to kiss the sky, they explain, mimicking her voice. You grin. The Arctic adapts. Always has. Historians still argue whether igloos will survive in a world shaped by climate change. Thinner ice, unreliable snow, warmer winters, but adaptation is the oldest tool here. Maybe the materials change. Maybe the snow becomes ceremonial. But the shape, the shelter, that idea will endure. Because the igloo isn't just about snow. It's about how you make home out of nothing. It's about using what you have, respecting what you take, and never building alone. You sit back and admire the teenager's work. The dome is halfway there. The base is clean, the spiral tight. They're doing it right. You ask if they're proud. They shrug. Nah. Still gotta finish the tunnel. It's not a house if the cold can crawl in. Smart kid. You help shape a few more blocks. Your back aches, your gloves are soaked, and your knees are half frozen. But your chest? Warm. This isn't your igloo, not really. But you've become part of its story. As the dome nears completion, the wind picks up again. Not a storm, just a reminder. You help the teenager pack snow around the base, smoothing the wall so the wind slides, not slams. The dome is round, solid, ready. And with that, they lean back, brush snow off their knees, and grin. Want to place the keystone. You hesitate, honored. It's a small gesture, but it matters. You take the final block, carved into a perfect wedge, and slide it into the waiting gap at the top. It fits, snaps in place with a tiny thud. Done. Inside the dome, the light will glow. The wind will hush. A new family will sleep in warmth crafted from ice. And the teenager who built it, they'll move on to the next thing. TikTok. A snowmobile ride. Maybe helping someone else build one next week. Because this isn't history you walk away from. This is history that walks with you. You stand up and brush your gloves clean. The teenager's already packing up their knife. Simon, they say. My mom made caribou stew. You'll like it. You look back at the igloo strong, simple, serene. It'll last a week, maybe two. Then it will melt into the earth, like it never was, but it was. It mattered. It sheltered. It warmed. And now, it waits. The snow falls slower now, the wind whispering like it's run out of things to say. You lie inside your igloo once more, wrapped in furs, the lamp casting soft shadows across curved snow walls that remember every breath, every whispered story. Your heartbeat slows, your breath fogs, then fades. Even the air seems drowsy. Outside, the Arctic stretches, vast and quiet. The stars blink awake above the frozen horizon. Somewhere far off, a seal surfaces with a puff of breath. The dogs have stopped barking. The wind has softened into nothing. In here, in this round room of snow, time doesn't tick. It drifts. It exhales. You feel it in your bones. The ancient rhythm, the wisdom of cold places, the quiet genius of shelter made from silence. You shift under the blankets, body warm, mind calm. The snow walls cradle you, not like a trap, but like a lullaby. No corners, no edges, just curve and curve and curve. The lamp flickers one last time before dimming. Not out, just lower, restful. Dreamlike. You close your eyes and let the Arctic hold you. Let it whisper to you of snow knives and keystone blocks, of ladder bouncing off frozen walls, of warmth found where logic says there should be none. You are safe. You are sealed in quiet. You are home, for now, in a house made of frozen breath. Sleep now.